Knowing what kind of economy you live in determines how much money you make. Traditionally, we used to live in an effort-based economy, which simply means that the more work and the harder you worked, the more money that you made. Now, we as black people, we grew up using and doing manual labor as our main source of survival. We worked on the farms. We went to school and started working in factories. And the world tolerated us because they needed physical labor. And which means that during colonial times, people invested in our education. Now, majority of us, unfortunately, haven't realized which kind of economy we live in. And we live in a result-based economy. We live in an economy where people don't really care how hard and how long you work. You get paid and charged entirely based on the results that you've produced. How does that affect who we are as a people and as a race? If you look at the movies, you'll find your sci-fi movies are the ones that tell us how the future will look. And most sci-fi movies, you'll never find a black face in the future. Apart from the movie The Weeknd, a movie where most black people, we went crazy because we had the first black superhero. The reality of the matter is, if we're going to survive in the world we're in and the world that we're going to live in going forward, where robotics, AI, and technology becomes the basis of that economy, we have to change our whole belief system. We have to change our mindset. We have to change our mastery, and we have to change our full educational system. Now, if we're being paid based on results, and we still take our kids to physically go to school, get a good education, get work, and be employed in a factory or work on a farm, things where all of a sudden that the new economy now is technology, the new land now is technology, the new landlord is going to be feudalism, where they decide how do you access technology, how do you access social media, who decides who's going to send your email, how will you create a community online. Now, we're still based purely fighting for land, but we forget that wealth is not in a place. Wealth is in the people, because unless the people are educated enough to be able to bring the wealth out of the land, we can still have Africa, which has 75% of the world's arable land, but the majority of our people still survive on less than $1 a day, and majority of people still go to bed hungry. Now that makes you ask yourself simple questions. What is it that we're doing that is not working for us? What do we need to change? And how do we improve the lives of our people collectively? And this brings me back to my favorite book, the book of Genesis. Because in the beginning, you see very well that God creates Adam. Genesis 1:26 says, and God says, let's create man in our own image and after our own likeness. And all of a sudden, voila, Adam is created. And then we get told that Adam fell, where he was tempted by the devil. But now we find here, God realizes the mistake that is done. What is the mistake that is done here? Adam comes into Eden, which is paradise, as a fully grown man. Now, as a fully grown man, why he fails here is because he missed the processes of becoming a man. And what does God do the minute he realizes that he's made a mistake? He recreates Adam, but now this time, he brings Adam as a baby in this world in the manger as Jesus, which he has to start growing through the process Now, understanding the process of anything that you want to become and achieve is more important than focusing on the outcome that you get in the end. Now, us as black people, unfortunately, we are missing up on the process. We're so much in love with the outcome that we want, the things that we want, the kind of cars that we want to drive, the kind of homes and suburbs we want to live in, the kind of lives that we want to live. But in focusing on the outcome, we're losing out on what the process is. Yes, we have a dream of the kind of life that we want, a good life. But how do we get there? Because where we are now, the unfortunate thing is we're still fighting our grandfathers' battles. We're still fighting the same things my father, my grandfather, my great-grandfather still fought for. And the problem here is because we've not mastered the process of becoming those things. How do we become those things? And why is it important for us to understand the process? That brings us to my second favorite book, which is Proverbs. Now, Proverbs is the book here where there's no religion in Proverbs. It's about Solomon taking time to observe how life works and extracting the process on how he's going to move his life forward. Proverbs 25:2 says clearly, the glory of the Lord is in hiding, and the honor of the king is in finding. Now, if the Lord enjoys, or his glory is concealing, which the other meaning, the other name for concealing is hiding, why does God hide things? And why does it make you a king? For you to find out these things. Now, to answer that question, I'll give you a very simple analogy. One of my favorite teaching strategies is parables like Jesus. When you're driving in traffic and that traffic light turns red and a beggar comes and knocks on your window, you look up, you look at him, and he starts begging. And you think you have a lot of things going on in your head. And while he's walking away, all of a sudden you realize this guy has got one leg and he's got one arm. And you reach into your pocket and you find you've got 3 notes. One is a 500 rand note. Second one is a 200 rand note. And the third one is a 10 rand note. Which one do you comfortably take and give it to this person? In most cases, we'd always take the note of the lowest denominator. We'd always take the 10 rand and give it to this person. Now ask yourself, what is your relationship between you and this beggar? The relationship here simply means you've taken the lowest denominator and you've given them to the beggar because you feel sorry for the beggar. Now, that brings us to the power of relationships and value. Any relationship that you have less value in, you'll always give the least of what you have. You'll never give your maximum in a relationship that has no value. Now, as black people, we must understand that the world will only reward value. Money is a byproduct of value. What kind of value are we bringing in this world? Yes, the past was tough, where we've been dehumanized, we've been subjugated to things that are unimaginable. But how long are we going to pass this as a legacy to our children, where they they go around fighting for a better life without teaching them to focus on who they can become and then giving them the process on how to become that person? Now, this beggar that you've given 10 rands, it's exactly the same relationship we as black people have with God. Because you'll find most of us use prayer as a language of begging God for a better life. We constantly, there is nobody that is good at begging, nobody that is good at praying. There is nobody that goes more on their knees to beg God for a better life than a black person. Now, we have to look at that. Take a simple example. If you had a friend nearby, and this friend has something in his hand, let's use an easy example that is easily accessible, a phone. and you say, pass me that phone. The first thing that the person will do, they'll pass you the phone and they'll walk back. And that automatically creates distance. But if that person, you told that person to come and look for the phone on you, and the phone is in your back pocket, it means he has to move closer into your proximity for him to be able to search your pockets. And that's where this verse, Proverbs 25 verse 2, clearly says that God, the glory of God is to hide, and the honor of kings is to find out, which means God insists on hiding the most important things in our lives because he wants us to form and create a relationship with him. Now, we cannot create a relationship with him if we're constantly busy on our knees praying and begging for things from God, because it ends up being a relationship, the same relationship we have while you're stuck in traffic and you have that beggar on your window begging, and you have 3 different denomination notes, a 100 rand note, 500 rand note, and a 10 rand note. And you take the 10 rand note and give it to this person, not because you care, but because you feel sorry for them. Now, we have to change our relationship in this world. We have to change our belief system. We have to change how we think. And we have to, for the first time, we must stop using our eyes to see and start using our imagination. We can become anything that we've ever imagined, but we have to go through the process. Life is like taking a step ladder and putting it against a wall. For you to get to the top of the wall, you have to take every single step, every rank on that step ladder, stepping it one by one. It makes it systematic and easy for you to be able to get to the top, and easier for you to take a step, one step by step, for you to come down. The minute you start skipping steps, it changes your movement, and it does not guarantee you getting to the outcome that you want, because chances of you falling and chances of you getting out of balance and chances of that ladder falling off because of you gripping it increases. Anytime you try to skip a step, you jeopardize the outcome that you want. We have to take back the power of defining what success means for us. Because if we're chasing money without understanding that money is a byproduct of value that we either add to the people around us or the community we live in, money is not something you get by toy-toying. Money is not something you get by demanding for it. Money is something that is a byproduct of you becoming a totally different person. So if we want to change our lives, we must stop asking and praying God to change our worlds, but change ourselves. If you change, the world will automatically change to become who you are. Tell me which part of this resonates with you. Who is the one person in your life that you know that needs to listen to this message? Share the message with them. God bless, and hope to catch you soon. Hasta la vista. Kwaheri.